The next section he talks about is our restless souls, right? So our souls are restless. So he quotes
it's in the middle of the night when you can't sleep.
That's right.
You've gotten your drink of water.
That's right.
You've watched that extra half hour of Home Shopping Network. You didn't want to buy the Ginsu knives. You're restless.
He quotes Augustine of Hippo.
Maybe he has a better quote than me.
Yeah. He famously describes this restlessness of the human soul and suggests its only proper place of repose, right? And here's the quote. You have made us for yourselves, O Lord, he wrote in his Confessions, and our hearts are restless until they find rest in you, right? So there's the quote. Because our souls bear God's image, we are beautiful. Because we have rebelled against the God who gave us our beauty, we are fallen, guilty, and lost. And as a result, we're restless and we cry out. Right? So that's the basic idea here.
But there are times when kind of this clever argumentation, I know the right answer to this. I've heard this before. I'm going to steal somebody else's line, and right. Who are you to say, oh man, et cetera, et cetera. So what do we do? Well, sometimes it's as simple as declaring the truth that may be all that's needed.
Yeah.
Say,
so we don't need a clever argument.
Yeah.
We don't need some pithy saying or whatever.
Right, yeah.
We can just tell the truth, right? The truth that they probably have already come out, mm-hmm. right? Because it was inside all the time, right?
That's why too, and Kokel makes the point in earlier chapters about how strong the argumentation with somebody is for morality and this idea that it seems rare that you'll find someone who says that there is no moral standard and there's no kind of system or way of carrying out that moral system. Mm-hmm. So what we want to do is be able to listen carefully mm-hmm. In your conversations. Right. Listen for that person's mannishness, even if it's a girl, to speak. And so when they tell you the truth and they must eventually, you point it out. You're like, hey, that's a good point. When we talk about God not being fair to how he treated, your grandmother.
Right. So you say, let me ask you a question. Have you noticed what you've done here?
Right.
You've posited a standard that you want God to meet.
Yeah.
Right? Where's the standard come from?
Right. So you think that the way your grandmother treated wasn't fair. You obviously are not attributing it to God because you're claiming not to believe in him. But you're saying, whoa, hold on. You're saying that there was an injustice here or something wasn't fair or something should have been a way that it had originally been. Mm-hmm. And so you're attributing it to kind of an outside factor, the universe, or, if God was real, he wouldn't have done this. And so, hold on. You're saying you're making a claim about a deity doing something in a way that he or she should do something, and where are you getting that from too? Right. And so that's one of the things too where our ultimate standard is God's word, and we point to it because we say it is our ultimate standard. Again, people have issues with foregone conclusions, and you get to the ending before you start at the beginning, but that's a portion of what we're pointing to.
That's a foregone conclusion.
And also what we're doing is we're being honest about where we're coming from. We're saying, hey, here's the standard where we go by. We believe in laws of logic, the ability to do science, objective morality, or a means to be moral. And where do we derive that from is God's word, and that's revelation. And so where Hume has this big no-no about having revelation as a source of truth, well, why can't it be a source of truth? If grant me the fact that if the biblical Christian God existed and he communicated this way, wouldn't his revelation be a source of truth? Mm-hmm. I think so. Yeah. You might not like it. You might, say, I would never worship that God, but that seems to speak against, you wanting to have a conversation about truth.
Truth, yeah.
Good. So, again, listen to these conversations carefully. Listen when that person speaks in this way, and point it out and say, "Oh, that doesn't seem to follow from your original argumentation. Can we go back over that and say, where does that ought come from? Or, we can trust science. We know that if we drop a rock every single time, it'll fall. Well, it will never do it in a world where things happen.
Got to be a little deeper.
Yeah. There's nothing that will come by and stop the rock from falling. Well, I can't be certain of that, right?
How do we know it'll happen next time?
The problem of induction, right?
Yeah.
Which we talked about with Mitch Stokes, how to be an atheist.
Yeah.
But here's the thing. We always want to make sure that, again, we're not making either side angry. The other side can get angry on their own and hate us and not like us. That's fine. That's on them. Right. But we don't need to add to that.
We lose when that happens as well.
Right. We do. We don't want that to happen.
Right.
So we always want to approach the person with gently, charitably, graciously. Ask them about it. Ask them and explain what they mean. Yeah. And again, we're not saying do this facetiously. Right. We're not saying, I want to look good to that person so that I can strike at them. Yeah. No, we actually want to do that. Why? Because we have an ultimate standard that tells us to be like that.
So we care about them and we want them to know the truth, right? And so we treat them as if we care about them and we're trying to work toward the truth.
Right.
We're not ugly, we're not mean, we're gracious, right? We're charitable, we're gentle toward them and that sort of thing. Yeah.
There was a conversation we were having on Twitter where someone came in and said, you guys lied because it fills up your coffers. I was like, you guys are getting paid for this? every time we get a new convert, are we cashing out checks and no one is telling me about that? That's unjust. Yeah. I want my cut as well.
That's right.
And so,
I need to get a coffer first.
Yeah. I'll probably get a coffin before I get coffers. And so, again, we want to have this gentleness and understanding that always be willing to give an answer with gentleness and meekness. Right, exactly. That's the second part, and we sometimes forget that because we're talking about important things. We sometimes live in keyboard world where we're not always monitored. But guess what? God is God, even in the World Wide Web, because He made the world and He put the World Wide Web in.
That's right. Good. So that's the basic idea of the inside out, right? The inside out is there's something inside that everybody really knows, right, or at least to some extent may be aware of, and even if they aren't, it seeps out. And when that happens, we just simply tell the truth. We point that out to them gently, right, and honestly and charitably, and we say, hey, notice what you're doing here, right? And how you're able to do that in your worldview,
right?
Kind of thing.
And maybe there's a misspeak. Heaven knows that I've misspoken before. Yeah. Oh, wait, hold on. I didn't mean to say that. Yeah. There's a better way for me to say that, or I got ahead of myself, and would you let me clarify my position? Right. And if they don't, all right, fine.
Yeah. So the only reason why that we can have, that we should be morally responsible for the earth is because we're different than the earth, and we're able to do that. So we're over and above it, and we have dominion over it. And so yes, we do need to be responsible, right? But notice the Mother Earth folks, right? The Earth Day folks. That has to kind of seep out. And then when that does, we point that out.
I don't care about Earth. I'm going to Mars. So, it's a greeting from Mars.